Well, before we go into that, I want to introduce you to my first guest. So let me make a step around the corner. And Reed, please step in with me. With me is a familiar face on SMR TV. At least he was with us in New Orleans last year also. Reed Cundiff from Microsoft, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me, Garrett.
Yeah. Well, we're inviting you because one of the many events going around Congress here this year was the Hackathon, and that was organized by you guys, or at least supported by you guys. So for our viewers who missed that announcement on the website, what was going on at this SMR Hackathon?
Well, what we did was we had a number of SMR participants come in and for a day and a half dig into 3 live data sets that Microsoft provided from our research team. And then what their goal was to be able to make strategy recommendations on any one of the 3 different brands that we profiled. And so what we did, just to give you a little bit of focus, we thought a hackathon was the perfect thing when we talk about the evolution of our industry, the evolution of our discipline. Because 3 things I feel like really need to happen for us to stay even more and more relevant and have more impact. We need to use a variety of different data sources. So we had brand tracking, we had usage and satisfaction, and we had 6 months of social data on these brands that we were analyzing.
Just a quick check.
Sure.
You're talking about brands, Microsoft brands, right? This was Microsoft data?
It was Microsoft and competition, but in order for us to be able to open up our data, what we did was we masked the brands that were included, but it was actual live data that we had each one of the hackers have access to.
This was a real life case. And when you say we, you're not talking about Microsoft, but you're talking about we as market researchers.
That's correct. We as market researchers. Thank you for clarifying, yes. And so I felt like it was important for us to have opportunities as a group to be able to do multi-source synthesis, to be able to make decisions in the speed in which our stakeholders need that information. So they had a day and a half to be able to get the work done. And then 3, have those recommendations, walk that last mile so we can be consultative and not just push data on people, but really push insights and recommendations.
And when you talk the key question, just to be clear, that was just strategy recommendations overall, or was it a little bit more specific?
Well, we wanted to give the hackers as much opportunity as possible to be flexible with what insights they pulled out of the data, as opposed to pushing them down a single path.
All right. So it was a free flow explorative exercise. Right. They dug into the data, and then what happened?
And then what happened was this morning, we had the 2 finalists come in and give short 15-minute presentations each around what they found in their analysis and then what they would recommend to any one of or multiple brands that they were exploring.
And you say finalists, this is a competition, I assume. Who was the jury?
The jury was members from Microsoft, from Orange, and from Heineken who formed that client judge panel. And then we picked a winner out of those 2 finalists.
All right. And what type of insights did they come up with? What kind of recommendations did you get?
It was curious to see how the 2 finalists differed in their analysis. One of them went with more of a breadth perspective, just to understand the category dynamics, and then made recommendations to each one of the 3 brands based on the category dynamics that they saw, whether that was generally, here is a demographic cut that seemed to be more interested. Here were some of the key differentiators in purchase intent and things like that. And then the second group really drilled down into a targeted audience that might be most valuable to focus in on, and then how do you flip that target audience to a particular brand.
All right, and if you now reflect a little bit on these insights, given the circumstances that these people had 1.5 days with a total new environment, total new data, how do you feel about it? Is it truly generating new insights?
A couple things came to mind for me just as I was walking down that path with our hackers. Number one is we had an impressive group, because in a day and a half, the insights they were able to come up with relative to data that we've been looking at for a year and a half in some cases was really very impressive. And then the second thing was, yes, there are things that I'm going to work on and drill down in with my team, in particular around that target audience and where we want to dig in.
Exactly. So in a day and a half, you're able to generate new hooks of where you want to go deeper.
Yes, and I was also impressed with the way they were able to pull insights and then synthesize them together across social data, across satisfaction data, across brand perception data. So very nicely done.
Now, obviously, this is some kind of a lab setting. This is an experiment here in Congress. It's part of something fun, a new way to network. But do you think you can distill some new kind of research approaches? Could this be like a kickoff with a team of how you start a project? What are your thoughts on that?
I would love, if we get the opportunity to be able to do this again, I would love to be able to bring in newer data sets that we've not had a chance to explore deeply and just lay it out to the hackers and see what they come up with. So I think as we wanted to do this for the first time and wanted to make sure that we could even help folks who had not been through this type of exercise before, we went with data sets that we know and love already. But when we are able to bring them things that we want truly their insights on, as opposed to just more pushing the industry forward, I think that's a ton of opportunity for benefit to come both ways.
All right, and finally, obviously, a hackathon is a format that is a physical presence. It's in a room. It's a locked up. It's a pressure cooker. It's food and drinks. It's fun. Do you think this stuff can also be replicated virtually, continuously, with a virtual group of hackers, or is the physical gathering a big part of the essence?
I certainly enjoy the idea of kind of a war room setting to be able to work through it, but you could absolutely replicate it. The big question that I think we have, and when we have internally when we deal with it, is the ability to have access to the data. The collaboration tools, as you know, Microsoft offers a number of collaboration tools that
Here's the
we
pitch.
won't pitch heavily here, but doing that real-time collaboration without physical proximity is absolutely doable. It's just making sure that we have the ability to make sure that everybody can have access to the data.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Reed, and thanks for sharing your enthusiasm. And let's mark down, if you're planning to visit Congress 2018, SMR Congress in Berlin, sign up for the hackathon, right?
Please do. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you very much.